After the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BCE, the ancient world did not simply return to what it once was. Instead, it transformed into something entirely new. A world where Greek language, art, and philosophy mixed with Persian, Egyptian, Babylonian, and even Indian traditions. A world where cities rose from the desert, where libraries held the wisdom of nations, and where kings shaped empires through culture, as much as through war. This is the story of Hellenistic culture, the age when civilizations blended, ideas traveled farther than armies, and identity itself began to change. Alexander's conquests created the largest empire the ancient Mediterranean had ever seen, stretching from Greece to Egypt and from Babylon to the Indus River. But Alexander died suddenly, leaving behind no clear heir. His generals, known as the Diadochi, split the empire into rival kingdoms: the Ptolemies in Egypt, the Seleucids in Asia and the Near East, and the Antigonids in Macedonia and Greece. What they inherited was not just land. It was a cultural revolution. Greek settlers moved east, Eastern peoples moved west. Ideas, languages, and beliefs collided and then blended. The result was a multicultural world, where being Greek was no longer only about birth, but about education, language, and a shared sense of identity. The symbol of this new age was the polis, the Greek-style city. But these were not small, isolated city-states anymore. They were grand metropolitan centers. Cities such as Alexandria in Egypt, Antioch in Syria, Pergamon in Anatolia, and Seleucia on the Tigris in Mesopotamia became hubs of power, learning, and trade. In Alexandria, the lighthouse shone over the harbor as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The great library gathered hundreds of thousands of scrolls, attracting scholars from Africa, Asia, and Europe. These cities were true melting pots. In the crowded markets, you could hear Greek spoken by officials, Egyptian priests performing rituals in ancient temples, Persian merchants negotiating prices, and Jewish scholars debating philosophy. For the first time on this scale, the Mediterranean and Near Eastern world became cosmopolitan, a place where many cultures lived side by side. Classical Greek art had focused on ideal beauty, calm, balanced, and almost perfect. The Hellenistic Age broke these rules. Artists were suddenly interested in wrinkles, emotion, age, and pain. They sculpted not only gods and athletes, but also old fishermen, children, and even defeated enemies. Famous Hellenistic sculptures like Laocoon and his sons show faces twisted in agony, muscles straining against fate. The winged victory of Samothrace captures motion in marble, clothing whipped by a sea wind we cannot feel yet somehow believe. Even the serene Venus de Milo is not entirely perfect. Her beauty is softer, more human, slightly vulnerable. Kings used this dramatic art as propaganda, filling cities with statues that displayed power and refinement. But beyond politics, Hellenistic art did something new. It showed life as it truly was, emotional, fragile, and deeply human. The Hellenistic world also became a powerhouse of science. In places like Alexandria, scholars began to measure, calculate, and experiment. Euclid laid the foundations of geometry. Archimedes explored physics and engineering, discovering principles that still carry his name. Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the Earth with astonishing accuracy, using only shadows, distance, and logic. In medicine, Herophilus and others dissected human bodies, trying to understand the brain, the nerves, and the pulse. Philosophy also changed with this new world. People no longer lived only in small city-states. They belonged to vast kingdoms and empires. Old political philosophies were not enough. New schools appeared. Stoicism taught that true freedom comes from inner virtue and acceptance of fate. Epicureanism searched for happiness in simplicity, friendship, and the absence of fear. Cynicism rejected luxury and status, insisting that a good life could be lived with almost nothing. These ideas would later influence Roman thinkers, Christian theologians, and even modern philosophy. Religion, too, was transformed. As cultures mixed, so did their gods. Egyptian deities were portrayed in Greek style. Greek gods absorbed Eastern symbols and powers. New hybrid gods appeared, such as Serapis, worshipped by both Greeks and Egyptians, in shared temples. Mystery cults became popular, offering personal salvation, secret rituals, and a promise of life beyond death. For people living in a vast and sometimes unstable world, these cults provided comfort and identity. In this environment, a person was no longer defined only by their city, tribe, or local god. They were part of a wider, interconnected world that stretched across continents. This shift in identity, from local to global, from narrow to expansive, may be one of the most important legacies of the Hellenistic Age. But no age lasts forever. By the 2nd century BCE, a new power was rising in the West, Rome. Step by step, the Hellenistic kingdoms fell under Roman control. Macedonia and Greece were subdued. Territories in Asia Minor and Syria were absorbed. Finally, in 30 BCE, Egypt, the last great Hellenistic kingdom, became a Roman province. Politically, the Hellenistic world was over. Culturally, it was just beginning a new life. Roman elites spoke Greek, read Greek literature, studied Greek philosophy, and decorated their villas with Greek art. They saw themselves as heirs to this brilliant cultural age. The Hellenistic Age proved that culture is not fixed, it evolves. When civilizations meet, they do not only fight, they exchange ideas, beliefs, technology, and art. The blending that began after Alexander helped shape the Roman Empire, the Middle East, the wider Mediterranean world, and eventually early Christianity and modern science. In many ways, the global, connected, multicultural world we live in today is not so different from the world Alexander left behind. This is the legacy of Hellenistic culture, an age when borders were crossed, identities reshaped, and the ancient world opened itself to something profoundly new.